I'm going to open YouTube on my phone. Because that seems like a good idea. And then also this will be a really good way, because we haven't started yet, if nobody can hear your microphone.
We'll know.
Yeah, like that would be helpful to know.
And I'm guessing just yelling louder won't just make it instantly slide into the internet that way.
Like, I feel like they should, because I'm getting your audio in the stream thing. But it always makes me paranoid.
So while we're waiting on that, and did Solo have a kid,
He's
or is that coming in the next couple of
I think
weeks?
it's the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
like it's very soon.
I that point got brought because they missed 2 weeks ago, and I was
Yeah.
giving Zareth a hard time about the secret thing not being there, and I went to go for a walk one morning. I'm like, what do I listen to?
You're
And
like,
then I caught the tail end of that as my headphones were flipping around,
mm-hmm.
and I'm like, and I didn't know if it was because the show randomly not happening because a baby is born. That makes a lot of sense. So
That does make sense. Yeah, I think it's in the next few weeks, like relatively soon.
okay,
I
got it.
think. Okay.
I'm checking with Lysisis. I think I pronounced that correctly. To see if she can hear both of us, or they. I should say they. I don't know if that's it. Yeah, that's. I want to take a look at that. I think that's a mistake.
The patch notes?
No, they're saying that people are saying that Cam lost his taunt.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Cool. Everyone can hear us both.
Okay, all right.
That's great. We haven't actually started yet. Yeah. We can start whenever. I'm just gonna drop the slate because I feel like this is fine. Um, should we just start?
Yeah, we can just start. Can I do the intro tonight?
Yeah, please do.
Okay.
We can just start.
For folks that are here early, we new software, so we're not normally we're doing this on the mute. So yeah, it's a little. All right, are we ready?
I'm ready. If you're ready,
Okay.
I'm ready.
Good evening. This is HNN, the Holotable News Network. It's your not even remotely close to around the clock Star Wars Galaxy Heroes news, reaction, review, theory crafting, and more source. I'm Pico Burrito, your host, and today I am joined, as always, with my co-host CeliacSarah. Sarah, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I am officially dubbing today Bridge Day.
Bridge Day. Okay.
Bridge Day. In fact, I'm going to call it the Ambassador Bridge Day for a very specific reason. Because yesterday was Canada Day, correct?
Correct.
On Thursday, it will be the 4th of July. This is the show that's bridging these two fine, great nations' Independence Days together. Where we both threw off the yoke of our colonial oppressors. So, Bodhi, dig in. We might have a couple of comments coming in tonight. So, yeah.
Yeah. There's so much.
There's a lot going on.
Like,
there is a lot going on.
I was at work and I was like, it's gonna be like a chill day at work, and then my phone just started blowing up with like Discord, and I was like, everyone please calm down. And people were like, have you looked in, like, how far are, like, have you looked in game? I'm like, no, I'm in Discord.
Yeah. I was excited today, so I knew we were recording, so I was like, hey, let's get some Discord questions out, and I learned to never do that again.
Did you? I forgot to put them in the show notes, by the way.
I put them in the notes. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, we have so many questions. So many.
And almost everyone followed the rules of please don't start a discussion here so that we can actually go and pull them out and answer them. So, yeah.
I don't even know where to start. Also, I feel like this isn't a spoiler, but maybe like a little bit of a warning. You and I don't agree on some of this stuff.
We don't, which is, I think, good. I think that's good.
Yeah, we can have a friendly discussion about this and why you're wrong. I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding.
we already decided this is going to be a spicy show. I think that there are opinions, there are thoughts, there are ideas. So where do we want to start?
I don't know. Like, do we start with the road ahead? I'm using air quotes because it's not really, in my opinion, a road.
Let's start there because that builds on a bunch of other announcements that have come out of that. So
okay.
So it's not a road ahead. What are you calling it?
I'm calling it more of a brush path.
Okay.
Like
fair enough.
And so and this is my logic behind it. I'm not mad about what was included. I am finding it lacking in things that I feel like should have been included.
Okay.
And so we had this puzzle that happened last week or whatever.
Yes.
And that led us to learning about Night Trooper being a Marquis, and it led us to learning that Ahsoka is going to be the next GL.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So I feel like in this road ahead, we should have gotten. Obviously, we knew about Night Trooper and we knew about Ahsoka. My next step from there is to be like, okay, cool. So if we're going to Ahsoka, we're going to get Ahsoka content. Like that makes sense logically, which was in the road ahead. But that was like all that was in the road ahead. And it felt really flat to me because I'm like, I feel like we should have gotten Ahsoka requirements in the road ahead. I feel like maybe info on like, is she going to have an exclusive game mode? They threw in, this is actually was really frustrating to me. They threw in this like little tidbit about Balin in brackets in the last paragraph. And when I read it, I was like, okay, cool. So we're going to get Balin. He's going to be a Marquis or whatever. Like it fits with Ahsoka content. And then when you updated the game and went in game, it was like Balin is the epic confrontation. I'm like, that should be in the road ahead. Yeah. Like that is content that should be there. It just felt like it was a little bit like we already... It didn't feel like a road ahead because it was like, well, yeah, like we know that we're going to get Ahsoka content. What else are we getting? Or why are we not learning about... Are you doing anything about like the Datacron interface that people have asked for? Or a new territory war rework? Or literally anything else? Like it really felt like... And then also because we got the raid information last week.
Yeah.
I feel like they should have just put the raid information out with the road ahead. Like, just put it all in one post. Put Ahsoka in, like, just make it all one post, and then it's all one road ahead, and then that would have been better instead of just a character list.
So, I'm calling this the hedge maze ahead. Because there's like 37 different branches of where we can find all of this information. And to your point, if they would have just pulled the 14 different links that we're going to have to go through tonight and put it into one concise paragraph, not paragraph, but broken it down into 4 or 5 sections to talk about these things, I think you wouldn't hear the feedback around the road ahead.
And like crazy idea here. I mean, hold on to your hats. If you were worried about it being too long of a post, you could hyperlink other posts. Be like, for more information on the new Galactic Legend hub, you can find that here. Yeah. Let's move on to this part. And like, wild, I know, but it's a thing.
Where I disagree with you on this is that I do think we got a road ahead. Unfortunately, the format doesn't fit with the road ahead format we're used to.
Yeah.
I think the data dump of everything that came out today, I think that if it would have been in a single post, the response would have been, wow, this is awesome.
Yes, I think so too.
But I think part of also why we got the format that we did, and this is where I don't think we're getting anything until the next raid.
No, I don't think so either.
And I don't think that you can talk about, especially when they deliver the raid 2 months earlier than they expected, or than we expected, you can't talk about the next raid because the immediate reaction from people are going to be, I'm not going to put any resources into anything.
I think they should have said the raid went live today. Like it's in game. People are playing it. And they should have said, how long is this raid going to be live for?
Yeah.
because that's what they did for Speeder Bike Raid. And I don't see why we don't know what the shelf life is of this one.
They didn't even tell us that it went live outside of Meathead putting a post on event server that said the raid goes live in 24 minutes.
Yeah. So it just felt, I think also we've gotten so used to what to expect at this time of the year that, to me, I was just like, it is telling that there is no capital ship information.
Yes.
We're not getting a ship.
We have, I think it's coming up as a question in the Discord Q&A. I don't think it matters that we're not
getting a ship.
I think I don't. So this this is where we have to play connect the dots with things.
Mm-hmm.
There was so we got the road ahead. They announced Ahsoka in the puzzle, which again I am massively excited about her as a character coming into the game. And then we got this. They're gonna give us 3 more puzzles.
Yes.
To share her characters that she's going to be released with. But in that post, they said Ahsoka's coming at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So even if we're generous and we say the end of the year is Q4 of the calendar, that's October at the earliest, which is by math 4 months. That's a long runway. It's possible they can squeeze another capital ship event into that, but again, this is the first I'm hearing that Balin Skull is going to be a
epic confrontation.
Because is he going to be in the middle?
If you didn't read the thing in game, you just closed out of it, you wouldn't know.
And I'll be honest, I never read this. So
right, I never read them, and then I had to. I will. Full disclosure, had to rely on a screenshot from somebody that was like, hey, did you see this? I was like, nope. Because the fact that that's in game, that you went and you typed that up and programmed it, put it in the code to show up in game, but it didn't make it to Meathead to make it into the road ahead. That just seems lazy.
Oh, and by the way, there's going to be a new tag coming into the game.
Yeah.
I just formatting's bad, but I think the content is there. But again, this also sticks with kind of what we got this year is that we never quite got anything the way that we expected it to.
Yeah, 2024 has been weird.
Yeah.
For lack of a better term. Very weird.
I think the other piece, and again, they buried it's funny. I had a conversation with a coworker a couple of weeks ago where he was presenting on an exercise that he does with his customer, and I'm like, this is great, you should tell a bunch of people about this, like what you do. And he got up to do it as part of a 10-minute presentation contest, and he never actually he started with this is the activity that he uses, and I'm like, you buried the lead. You never talked about why you're doing this. There's the lead in. Don't bury the lead on that. And he actually referenced it this week, which is where I'm thinking about this. They buried the lead on so many of these topics that it feels like, again, you get 4 bullet points at the beginning to talk about the exciting things. You go into details on that, and it becomes the one point where everyone grabs their mobile device or their computer and they just go back and read it 3 or 4 times during the week.
Right.
We're going to be pulling bits and pieces of this stuff from all over the place. And the content in game, once we get the next patch notes, that information is gone.
Yeah.
It's just gone from that standpoint. So I don't know. I'm excited about a lot of the things that came out today. Again, they didn't talk about the character art changes.
Mm-hmm.
I also think that part of the reason why we haven't seen a lot of other updates to the game over the past 6 to 12 months is the art department's been really busy.
Yeah, super busy apparently.
Do you think this means we're going to get new character art for everybody in the game?
It seems that way. I mean, maybe not like the new characters, because those ones look like they weren't touched.
Yeah.
Like Lover Boys were the exact same.
Yep.
But I was scrolling through, and quite a lot. Like everyone looked redone.
To me, this seems like an exercise tied to the PC client more than anything.
Right. Which we apparently also have now, if you're on Windows.
Yes, if you're on Windows. Sorry.
Which, I mean, get on that, EA.
My favorite of all the new portraits is Ugnaught.
I didn't look at Ugnaught.
He has the big jowly like beard pieces. Have you seen any of the Adam Sandler vampire cartoons?
Probably.
So there's a character in there that he's like supposed to be like the very formal English. I think he's a Van Helsing, because again it's all play off the monster movies. But he's this very formal English man in his military suit, but he's got like those big bushy sideburns that kind of like they're the beard where the piece is missing. It's what it looks like. He looks like basically like a white haired English man in that photo in his dress military uniform. So it's great.
I noticed. I saw BB-8 and I was like, I like you. You look cute. You look a little a little bit more grayscale-y, and it suits, So it was really weird to go into territory wars today though and be like, I was trying to build my Kylo team and I was just like, where's Hux? Like, I was like, who are you? Like, what's happening? So it was very strange. But I guess, I mean, we're all gonna get used to it. It's just weird.
I'll be honest. I want Cup as a character to be better now because his image just looks awesome. It looks great. It's I immediately did a reverse sort, and I've been looking at the stuff on the bottom of the roster, and I think some of them just the images are there. Let's just get updated character models across the board for them. So
yeah, I really liked Padme's as well, like original Padme. I thought hers looked good.
Speaking of, I would like to officially veto something I've been hearing.
Okay.
We are not going to call her Quadme.
No.
That is a terrible,
it's Queenie.
Terrible name. I'll take Queenie.
Thank you.
We're gonna come up with a new nickname for a new set of characters coming, as they were part of the road ahead a little bit later tonight too. So,
oh boy.
So do we want to step through some of the details in here?
Yeah. So
okay.
Start at the top, I guess.
We'll start at the top. So where we're going to see an updated Imperial Remnant.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of explained a little bit of the background on that. And I think, again, we're reading character lists. That's what this really comes down to.
Yeah.
Night Trooper,
mm-hmm.
Which we got a kit for, who's an attacker. Death Trooper, Pyrdia. I don't even know how to pronounce that planet name.
Peridia is how I'm reading it.
Is that what it is?
That's how I'm reading it.
Yeah. I insert and remove letters as needed just to make life more exciting for people. He looks to be very much aligned to basically being buckled to Night Trooper.
Mm-hmm.
So can we call them the Dead Boys? We've got the Lover Boys. Can we call these guys the Dead Boys?
The Dead Boys. Right. I love that.
The Dead Boys.
I love that.
And Captain Enoch is coming in as well, which again seems to be tied to those characters. Here's the funny part. I made a comment today about how there's a 0.0% chance we were going to get Captain Enoch because it seemed very much more of a trench character. And well, that
here we are.
To be wrong. Yes, that was not accurate. We got some character art. I think Death Trooper looks awesome.
Yeah. Like they just look. I remember watching Ahsoka and seeing them come back, and I was like, zombie troopers. Like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And they really just look like that with the especially Death Trooper, like seeing the helmet and everything. Like, man.
Yeah. Art on these are great.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so this is the one that I'm the most excited about.
Mm-hmm.
The Great Mother Squad.
Yeah.
And when I read this, so the Dark Mothers are the three Witches of Dathomir from Ahsoka. And when I read it, I immediately went to 6 character releases and was thinking, how are we ever going to squeeze all these characters in? we're going to make them a large character, and you're going to get all three of them at the same time.
Yeah, they just kind of hang out in their little voodoo circle.
Yes,
And
they will be called Biggie Sisters.
Biggie Sisters.
Biggie Sisters. That's what we're going with. So, but they're going to be a leader.
Yeah.
They look to be a turd polisher for the Bad Night Sisters.
Maybe. I mean,
but also will work with the Imperial Remnant troopers. So yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, so we'll have 2 Night Sister squads.
Yes,
which is great
because we get Morgan Elsbeth as well.
Yeah, which no one should be surprised about.
Yeah, again, I thought she was going to come with. I want to know who's coming with Thrawn.
Well, so and this is the thing. Like we know Ahsoka's coming. We're gonna get Thrawn next year. Like that's the obvious. That's the obvious thing.
I honestly was thinking we were going to see Ahsoka in the next 2 months, and we were going to get Thrawn at the end of the year or the first part of next calendar year.
That would be wild.
But if they push her until the end of the calendar year, I just don't. That this time next year would be the earliest, maybe for Thrawn.
That's what I was thinking. I don't think we see Thrawn before like June 2025.
But they're saying Talia, Night Sister Spirit, and Acolyte to go with Morgan and the Biggie Sisters.
Mm-hmm.
They said they also would work with some of the Night Troopers. So those are the dark side characters that are coming.
Right.
Ezra as the next Conquest character.
Which to me was weird to announce early. Like, we still have 2 Conquests to go of Luthen. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, one.
One.
Yeah, two Conquests, so 5 months out.
Yeah.
I read someone made the comment today. Ezra release is November 11th.
Yes.
Which to me says be ready for an Ahsoka Tano Galactic Legend that includes Ezra Bridger as a requirement on November 12th.
Which I think if he is needed, this would be the first Conquest I'm not going to say unit because technically Razor Crest was required for a GL ship.
And Malgus was needed for the Sith the Sith ship as well. So Malevolence.
Okay,
not
so Leviathan.
Leviathan.
So, but this would be the first one needed for a GL.
Yes, I think that we should expect to see Ezra there. I also wonder if this is why we're not seeing the reduction in feats or simplifying Conquest. Now, this is the lead into Ezra because they want to make sure that people can get Ezra so they can unlock Ahsoka in November.
Maybe.
So, and then at the bottom, they mention that Balin's skull's coming in.
Mm-hmm.
In game, they said that he's going to be the epic confrontation.
Yeah.
And they said all of these characters, in some way, they're going to mix and match them as being requirements for Balin and Ahsoka.
Right.
So who knows who goes where?
Yeah. I mean, so with Ahsoka, we can guess that there's going to be 4 dark side units.
That was off of the image.
Off of the image, yeah, that they put out. Obviously, like, that could change, but it looks like it's 4 dark side characters, the rest being light side, and 1 ship.
So, do you think is that Death, the new Death Trooper, the new Zombie Trooper, Asajj, and is it one of the other 2?
I don't know. Would it be Morgan? I think he would do Morgan more for Thrawn than Ahsoka.
So I am convinced we're still going to get a Sabine and a Hyang as Ahsoka requirements.
I mean, that would not surprise me at all. In which case, the dark side characters could come from characters already in game. Yeah.
I think Asajj makes sense only because they appeared together and there's that weird leadership thing. There's no way that it's Lord Vader, is there?
That
Too
would
far.
be absurd. Like maybe one of the malls.
Yeah, yeah, that's right, because they were that was that kind of that final arc of the Clone Wars
Yeah, I could
was
see it being mall,
in
but
that case.
not man. If it's Lord Vader, I feel like people will just absolutely
It, it's
riot.
not going to be Lord Vader. I was stretching to think of another dark side character, and I completely forgot about Maul
Yeah.
in that case. The question is it Conquest Maul?
I'm assuming it's Conquest Mall.
How nuts would that be if it was actually Ezra and Conquest Maul to get that?
Yeah, I would assume it would be Conquest Mall. Um Only because Darth Maul is needed already as a
Yeah,
requirement, I
yep,
believe. And also I think Conquest Mall makes more sense story-wise.
yeah, probably.
Um
Um,
and he's been
so
out for a while anyway. Like I realize that that's not necessarily player friendly for newer players, but in general, he has been out for a while.
yep.
Um
Do you think
yeah.
with so for Balin, do you expect to get Shin as
Yes.
well?
I
Okay,
expect to see a Shin. And,
yeah,
and it makes sense why Shin wouldn't be listed in this road ahead because it's not
yeah. That
necessarily going to be for Ahsoka.
well, because they seem to be so weird about information. I mean, they're like, well, we don't have to put that in there. They all just assume that she's coming along with them. So,
Yeah, true. True. Um
um,
yeah, yeah. I'm just I pulled up the Ahsoka image because I thought this was interesting. And then this is where they say that they're going to be doing a puzzle
yep,
until she is released at the end of the year. I still though like I'm disappointed that they didn't say if she's going to have her own game mode requirement.
you so this is where it gets weird,
Mhm.
and this is also why I think they moved the rate up.
Okay.
So let's assume we get Ahsoka in November.
Okay.
We could expect to see a raid in February that she's the lead character
Mhm.
for that raid. Like a Battle of Mandalore raid where she's one of the hero characters.
A raid in February just makes me want to barf.
Look, I don't like talking about new raid on the day that we get our new raid,
Mhm.
but that's 7 months out. And that also aligns with her event.
Mhm.
And again, I personally I don't think that they announced anything tied to her because one, she's so far off, and two, you can't talk about a new raid on the day that you launched a raid.
Totally. Totally. Um it just feels weird because like they hyped
Hooks.
up Jabba with all of
Yeah.
his stuff being like they were like you're gonna need him everywhere. He's gonna have his mod event. He's gonna
Yeah.
have the territory battle, whatever. He was in the raid. Like you had all that stuff, and then Leia was the same thing. She has her own event. She was also in the raid. It just seems weird that Ahsoka I expect her to have one, whether it's a raid or not. I just expect it because it feels weird to release a GL now and not tie them to something.
Yeah.
Because now I'm kind of like, well, what what's the point other than power creep?
It's also though I have to keep reminding myself it's 5 months away.
Right.
Like it's in all reality, it's 5 months away. That's a level of even in the good days of Road Ahead, that's way farther out than they typically ever gave us any details about game changes.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I don't know. I agree. I would like to know kind of what we're gonna get from her, and um, I think the other really interesting question is what are her tags going to be?
Yeah. That's a huge one.
Uh, I would not be shocked to find out she's only unaligned Force user and she's not Galactic Republic.
Mm-hmm. I was just thinking you have to. I mean, I feel like you have to give her unaligned Force user as a tag.
Because you can give Ezra unaligned Force user. He's definitely not a rebel at that point in the game.
I'm also curious. So, like, not only with her tags, but Kat was such a strong character that was released that, like, we've seen this. CG has kind of like rolled it back a little bit in terms of since her release. How do you make GL Ahsoka even stronger than Kat?
So,
like,
you put a clause in her kit about undersized teams to start with.
Mm-hmm.
When facing an undersized team, she gets a finger of death or something else to that so that she negates Bane.
Yeah.
And yeah, it'll be. Do they just combine all three Ahsokas so that you've got one that does massive damage based off of the buffs that you have? It has a force leap that takes someone out of the game on the first move, and always assists on every turn.
I feel like we're building like the Power Ranger, you know, all the cars and stuff like stacked together.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like.
I hope they find a way to build the team so that it's not Cat and Fulcrum and in TBA. Which, again, for everybody who doesn't know, so she is listed as TBA in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And Sarah, what does that stand for?
That badass Ahsoka.
Yeah. That badass Ahsoka.
Which, like, you know what? This is twofold. Just proof that TBA in game. So in my first year of university, many moons ago, we were shown all of these like bad print articles that went, whether it was like the article itself or the actual page itself of the paper.
Yep.
Before, newspapers died. And the idea was to stress the importance of a good copy editor and a good second set of eyes on your work before you go to press and before you like put your work out in the public and push your update in game, out to your community. And the idea was they showed us there was like blank pages that just said sports photo goes here, like blank squares. And then they would have like the Latin, filler text in some areas. And there would be spots where it would be like, the box is this big because your caption is supposed to fill the box. So like stuff like that. That's just like, this is why you proofread. This is why you don't push something into game that says TBA when we already know what it is because you did a puzzle. But also because I like making up what things stand for.
Yeah.
That badass Ahsoka.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And it's funny as I scrolled down through this post because all I did looked at the image. So the sleuths around us. Again, I looked at it. Would not have occurred to me. There are 11 blue boxes and there are 4 red boxes, which the assumption is there are 11 light side characters. 11 light side, 4 dark side for a total of 15. I think I did that right.
Yeah, and one ship.
And one ship, that's what it is.
Which looks like a light side ship.
And it looks a lot like her ship.
Yeah, which is kind of a gimme.
Yeah. If you don't have Ahsoka's ship unlocked right now, you're probably not going to be ready for her in 5 months as it is.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure they force you to farm that one. We did get 4 of the first requirements. So Night Trooper at Relic 7, Snips at Relic 9, which they told us was going to happen. Gas at Relic 8.
Yep.
That will probably get some people churning a little bit. And then Asajj at Relic 5. So Asajj is in that list of those. So there's 2 other dark side characters to see who that is.
Right. Yeah, because it's the Asajj and Night Trooper. So.
Yep.
And there's 4 potentially.
That's the road ahead for the most part.
Right. It was basically Ahsoka.
Yeah.
I will say, I don't remember if I said this on our podcast or if it was Crate or if it was in a patron chat, because apparently I talk about the same thing everywhere. But I do distinctly remember sometime around like March-ish wondering and noting that the last 2 years, in the first half of the year, we had gotten like TV show or other game related, like extended universe content as the first half leading to the legendary. And then the second half, the GL and all that kind of stuff, was based off of a movie or an anniversary. Okay. And that this year, the first half was all movie anniversary stuff with Jar Jar and Stop and like all that kind of stuff leading to the raid. And I was wondering if we were going to see a GL from a TV show. So I would like to say I called it.
I'll allow it.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Vaughn. I did talk to him about it in DMs, so there is proof somewhere time-coded. I'm not going to search for it because Vaughn and I talk all the time. But, yes. And I think you and I have seen this complaint a lot that I did want to touch on. People are complaining that she's from the show and that she shouldn't be a GL because she's from a show. I think that's stupid.
Yes, agreed.
And when I think of the GLs, it's, to me, I'm like, okay, how much content are you in? And Ahsoka's in a lot of content.
Yes.
Well known. And we know that Ahsoka and Mandalorian are leading to this like Avengers style movie that they're hoping to put together. So she is going to have a movie anyway, but also like, how long ago was the last movie? You and I were talking about this.
2019 was the last movie, so it was 5 years ago.
Like, what are you going to do?
So, a couple of things on that. Last week we didn't have an episode because I was on vacation. The family and I were down in Southern California, and as part of that, we went to Disneyland.
Mm-hmm.
I was there for a good 3 hours before I finally actually realized that it is called Disneyland in California, Disney World in Florida. I use the terms interchangeably, but of course we went to the Black Spire outpost.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting to look at how Disney views the current state of Star Wars, because that's their driver. Like that, we bought this IP for this reason. At the Black Spire outpost, I saw 5 characters.
Okay.
I saw Rey and I saw Kylo.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they've been there since the beginning.
Yeah.
Saw Chewbacca.
Yep.
Who predated Black Spire. He was kind of like, if for folks that have been to Disney, he was at like one of the character meets. And then Mando and Grogu. So Mando was carrying Grogu in a bag, and it was actually a fully articulated puppet that someone was controlling from remote control.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was Ahsoka. And the Ahsoka costume was amazing. And
you sent me a photo of it.
Yeah, they put a full facial prosthetic on to give it the very smooth cartoon appearance.
Yeah,
and again, and the actress playing it was great because it was the Rosario Dawson kind of stoic version of it.
Mm-hmm.
But if that's what they're putting in front of the masses, Disney does research. It's there because they know that the Mandoverse is where people are attached to. The Mandoverse is the premium Star Wars content right now.
Yeah.
I get it. I'm almost 50. I'm an old man. I yell at the clouds. There's a lot of people like me in this community. And I'm just saying, I'm not including you as part of this because you are nowhere near that same age. You're 22. if you're a day over 21, you're 22. But there has to be an acceptance that the story has moved on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The story has moved on from Luke. I think it's great. Like when I listen to Calvin, and it's funny because he's talked about this in the past, that he has such affinity for the prequels because he was a kid.
Right.
It was his story, his time frame. And the other piece, and I do want to say this about Ahsoka as well. Disney has handed over the reins of the story to this guy by the name of Dave Filoni.
Mm-hmm.
And Dave Filoni has been responsible for Star Wars storytelling for about 20 years at this point.
It's been a while.
Ahsoka Tano has been a player in his story arc from the beginning of the Clone Wars content through Rebels. Do not forget that she was a major part of Rebels and into this.
Great
she
show.
has been more relevant to Star Wars storytelling in the past 20 years than Luke Skywalker. And you can, please reach out to me, DM me, tell me that I'm crazy. She has been more relevant to the story than Han Solo, than Leia, than these characters that we want to talk about how, and again, from people of a certain age where it matters, she has been a major part of these stories. Let's not define, we'll talk about the actual legend piece of it in the Q&A or the Discord questions, but she is as part of the story as anybody else over the last 20 years.
Absolutely. I don't see the complaint. I don't see why it's a complaint. I also you're gonna run out of galactic legend worthy characters to take from the movies. You're gonna hit that wall. I think CG has seen that you're gonna hit that. I mean, they've already seen that they're gonna hit a wall just based off the fact that they're no longer releasing GLs as pairs, and they're no longer releasing them twice a year. We're getting one a year, and that's it, because you're gonna run out of runway.
So I'm gonna bring up the pop princess for a minute.
Our Lord and Savior.
So
I'm ready. I'm feeling 22.
I had this conversation with my daughter today, and she had to make sure that I talked about it, that she and I had this. But when you're part of a fandom, your belief of what people understand and people are familiar with is skewed. Like Avant Dox from Three Scoundrels loves Nine Numb, and I don't think he would agree with this, but there are people that want Nine Numb in the game and that think that it's a travesty that he's not in the game right now, because he was a pretty important character from Return of the Jedi. But the reality is, he's a fandom character. To turn this into the pop princess, there are people that will argue Great War by Taylor Swift is her best song.
Right.
But it's not.
No.
It's Shake It Off. It's the 10-minute song about Jake Gyllenhaal. It's the songs that are popular it's a phenomenal song. But they're the songs that the masses gravitate to, and when the masses hear, oh, that's T Swift. People hear, my daughter might put on Great War, and my response might, hey, who's this person that sounds like Taylor Swift? Oh, that is who that is.
Yeah.
Disconnect yourself from your fandom from a little bit and understand that this game is, for it to be successful, it's got to appeal to the masses, and the masses demand over us.
Yeah. And they're, like I said, they're leading to a movie. So
yes, if
your argument is that a GL has to be from a movie, she's going to be in a movie. I don't know. It seems silly.
With what the masses are doing to the Acolyte right now, I'm not sure we're ever going to get another Star Wars movie again.
It's wild. Just absolutely wild to me how much Star Wars fans love to hate Star Wars.
Yes.
And I was a late bloomer to Star Wars. I said this multiple times. I didn't watch my first Star Wars movie until I was 23. Which I guess means I'm not 22.
Yeah.
But
Wait, you're from the future?
I'm from the future. But and I was just cool. I watched it, and then I didn't, quote unquote, love Star Wars until the new trilogy came out, which, I mean, makes me a blasphemer, apparently.
Yeah.
So just string me up and burn me at the stake here. But it goes back to what you're saying about how Calvin loves the prequels, because that's tied to his childhood, and that's the sentimental value of it. I am tied to the sequels, and that doesn't make it any less valuable. That just means that I like it. I have a different song that is my favorite than you do. You know, like that's all there is to it.
My second favorite Star Wars memory, my first favorite Star Wars memory of all time actually is Ahsoka Tano fighting Darth Vader in the Rebels episode where he says, "I will I will avenge my master," and Anakin responds with, or Darth Vader responds with, "Revenge is not the Jedi way," and she said, "I am no Jedi," and then proceeds to beat the shit out of him.
Just chills.
Great, just great.
Oh.
My second favorite Star Wars moment of all time is The Last Jedi, watching it with my son, who at the time was 7. And when Chewie flies the Falcon in and takes everything out, and watching him throw his fist up in the air in the theater because he was so excited, like, that's what Star Wars should be.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to see that through his eyes.
I got to take my this thing that meant something to me through my life, and I got to sit there and I got to share it with him. More importantly, and I got to see him get excited about it. Yeah. That's what we should be doing, not this. Yeah, fans are assholes. Just assholes.
Yeah.
We're being spicy tonight.
So you and I'm not mad she's a GL. I think she's worthy of being a GL, and I'm not either. I think Thrawn is equally worthy if he ends up being the counterpart next year. I think that is 100% valid.
So what I'll throw into Thrawn is Thrawn has been part of Star Wars storytelling for over 30 years at this point. The problem is it's been in books.
Yes.
And again, Ahsoka helped bring Star Wars back with Rebels, and it wasn't all about her. Thrawn saved Star Wars from falling into obscurity at the end of Return of the Jedi before they started releasing the books, the extended universe stuff. Like, if Timothy Zahn doesn't turn Thrawn into who Thrawn is, I don't think the extended universe launches into what it did. Just because you didn't read the books doesn't mean that he hasn't been a massive part, again, of Star Wars storytelling for an extended period of time.
I find Thrawn, and like I've read a couple of the Timothy Zahn books. They're really well done. I actually need to finish the series. I find him to be much like the embodiment of what I envision a dark character in Star Wars.
Yes.
He, like I was listening to I listened to the first Thrawn book on Audible, and it literally gave me chills listening to it, and like his train of thought and just like being in his character, and like that's how I envision a dark, like I'm like, he's scarier than Darth Vader to me.
Yeah.
And Darth Vader's supposed to be like the end all be all bad guy. So like I'm like, that is fantastic for a GL. Read a book.
Thrawn is what, if you've ever wondered, what if Sherlock Holmes was manipulative and evil? The answer is Grand Admiral Thrawn.
Right. Yeah.
That's a good. I don't have a problem with it. But yeah, we'll probably have a little bit more on this in the Q&A, because I know that there's someone who asked a question, and I think we have some thoughts there. So
we're hopping around.
Yep.
Okay.
Just like CG in the road ahead.
Yeah. So we've got the road ahead. We've got Ahsoka.
Yep.
Do we want to talk about the raid?
Let's hit the patch notes.
Okay.
Because I haven't read them, and I know that there's some impacts on some of the other stuff that we'll talk about.
Right. Okay.
So raids there.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't know if this was edited or not, but Cam's unique ability to Master of Forms was changed from a taunt for 3 turns to protection up for 3 turns.
That has been edited. That was not originally in the post.
Got it. That's interesting, because that makes the Qui-Gon Jinn.
Wait, where are you seeing that Cam thing?
That is in the patch notes updated 7.2, which means you may be looking at an old version of the link. I just opened this up.
I'm looking at it. So the one that I have up on the stream? Doesn't say anything about Cam.
So if you refresh the link,
okay,
under news, it has Cam's unique ability too.
We're doing it. There it is.
Yeah. So that makes that Qui-Gon Jinn GAC counter worse, or not counter, but defensive team worse, because if you can make him fast enough, he goes into taunt and then he pulls him away from that side and start breaking stuff into pieces. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
But also, a lot of people didn't apply that ability because they didn't want him to taunt anyway.
Yeah.
So it's double-edged sword.
Voxen, go put your Omicron on him, or your
Omega.
I'm just assuming that there. So also, while you're at it, apply your ultimate to Jedi Master Luke. So updated mod battle requirements to players above 58. There's Conquest. There was a change to an Inquisitorius Datacron,
which is interesting that they're doing it now.
Yeah. Interesting.
Also, I thought they didn't care about the Datacron thing. They just said they're just going to expire, so who cares?
I didn't think they did either. I also just found out that there's music in the game. Because they fixed a bug with it.
I never play with music. I remember when the Mando characters were being released and they changed the music in the game to be like the Mando theme songs and stuff like that. And I was like, I'm going to turn my music on. Never did. Not once did I turn my music on. I can't play in meetings if I have my music on, guys.
Yeah. I actually completely turned off all sound and did the hard sound off on my iPad on vacation so that I wouldn't wake anybody up in the hotel room. I haven't turned it back on, and I haven't noticed it. So for anything, there's a change to a Datacron for Night Trooper, and there's a change for the Healer Datacron, which we'll talk about that coming up.
And so Night Trooper's getting his own Datacron in the marquee event, correct?
Correct. Yes. And I believe I read that that Night Trooper gets the new style marquee event as well.
Okay. Good.
So the half cost. There's some other things around Night Trooper kit that, again, probably have to know what it does at night. So, and then, and I'll recommend folks go and read this. There are a number of bugs released as part of the raid under Battle for Naboo. Things aren't working the way that they're supposed to.
Shock.
What's interesting is they actually Battle for Naboo Night Trooper Special 2 Blight applied by Special 2 can be resisted. I didn't know that Night Trooper was in the raid.
What?
Yeah.
Back up. He's not in the raid.
He's not. I don't know why that's in there.
But I would love to know. We haven't even had the marquee.
Yes.
But
my guess would be it's probably supposed to go in the section above it around the issues with Night Trooper that will go into the game as part of the character release.
Oh, it's an exact copy paste from the bullet point.
Oh, is it?
Above, under Night Trooper. Okay. The second bullet point. It's an exact copy paste. Okay. This is why you have a proofreader.
And then on top of this, it is not in here, but as we get into the raid, one of the teams that seems to be working very well is a B2-led separatist team.
Yeah.
Autoing for 3.6 million on Relic 9. And they are currently investigating B2's interaction with some of the pieces in the game because who would have thought to test a non-leader in a lead spot besides, I don't know, the entire community?
I feel like this shouldn't surprise. You need to try every character because when you limit the characters that are available to use, people are going to use the strongest ones that they have.
Yeah.
And then you're just going to eventually go in with a team that doesn't have a leadership.
So, again, you and I are not good at the maths.
Right.
I believe with 30 characters, there's 800 no, that's not right. Never mind. There is clearly a statistical formula to figure out how many permutations of different teams you can have. But
that's a weird formula. I don't know how to do that.
Yeah, it's there. And again, probably within 3 minutes, we'll have 7 people actually give us the results in chat, which is why we ask these questions. But it feels to me like I get that they do a lot of testing of the actual client in the game itself.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it feels like they should be able to take test code and say like, look, these are the 5 characters. Simulate the results
Mm-hmm.
with this team. Just don't play like I don't need the animations and just run it through all of them. It's like here's B2 with the 6 characters that could possibly be on his team. Simulate the results and oh wait a minute, this generated a score that doesn't seem right.
This can be
Maybe
done.
we should take a look.
Like
Yes.
Barbarossa does this all the time.
Absolutely.
We've had the 2 Dathomir events come and go where we can't do them because Gigi is a thick boy that cannot die. And they're just like, oh yeah, sorry, we'll fix it. And Barbarossa went in and was like, this is what's wrong. This is how you fix it. Like, what?
Yep. Do you know it's cheaper than hiring QA?
Hiring Barbarossa.
Just putting it out into public and just having, because people love to tell you when you're wrong.
It's true. It's true. But it's just crazy at this point. I'm like, this is why you need the beta group or like the player test group, whatever you want to call it. Like, this is why you need it. Just for little things like this. And like CG has flat out said the player base is better at theory crafting than they are. And that's not a knock on them. They've said that. They've admitted it. And I think that is, I mean, it's clearly true. But also, I think that is valid that you would have people playing your game that are strong theory crafters and are going to be better at it than you. You need to pick those people's brains.
By the way, here's how you fix the problem of leaks.
Right.
You limit it to 10 people.
Mm-hmm.
You bring them all into a conference call together. And you make them introduce themselves by their first name, their last name, and you make them be on video. So there's an image because there are too many people in this world. And I ran into an interaction with this today in the Star Wars and the SWGOH community, that there are too many people that are anonymous and they don't ever have to put their name and their face to something they do. Mm-hmm. You and I have to, because our names and faces are all over everything that we say.
Yeah.
Which also tempers what we say. But you bring those 10 people together, you put them in a room, you put them there, and you say, we're going to invite you to be part of the beta testing program. We are going to tell you to sign an NDA. And if any data leaks out of this program, all 10 of you lose your accounts.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's gone.
That's how you solve it. And again, now you know specifically the other 9 people that you're going to punch in the head if something happens.
Yeah, because if I go in there and I lose my account because you leak.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm going to be real fucking mad.
Yeah. By the way, I've been in those meetings at work before where a very small group of us got a preview of information and was told, if we hear about it from anyone else,
mm-hmm.
you're losing your job. So, awesome.
Great.
One of the few times I kept my mouth shut.
Yeah. So, yeah. So just test it. I don't know. Have people test it. Okay. So that's the patch notes.
Yep.
Do we want to talk about the raid? Night
Let's
Trooper?
talk about the raid.
Duel of the Fates? Where do we want to go? Okay.
I've read the Night Trooper kit, and I'm not sure I understand it, so I'm going to keep pushing that off as far as we possibly can into this show.
I have not read it. So, all right.
It is confusing.
So we got 2 raid posts in the last, week or 2. One was, I think we can just show this really quickly. It's basically just like the guild milestone. It's the reward milestones for the raid and the in what will happen to the speeder bike raid now, because the Mark III tokens will shift and go to the Naboo raid the same way that they did with Crate and the speeder bike raid. So that's that. The biggest thing to note is there is not a new prize box like they originally said there would be.
Yep.
And there's no Relic 9 materials in any of the prizes, which to me, I was just curious about that, because to me, I was like, if you're going to give a Relic 9 tier for a difficulty level, I want a reason to Relic 9 these characters, to Relic 9 a squad. Like, I don't have a full squad of Relic 9 characters. I have select characters at Relic 9 that go on a squad, but not a full squad. And I just feel like that is not there. So We'll
And
see.
oh, by the way, they just announced another character that needs to be Relic 9 that is not part of the raid.
Right, right. So like what's the incentive here for me to do this? So that is that. And then they also released a whole whackload of information on the faction bonuses, the hero
Yes.
characters, all the characters that can be used. I don't know if we need to go into this in crazy detail because it's also all in game now.
Yeah, I think the big piece is when you look at, so maybe just reviewing a couple pieces, because I couldn't tell you who the heroes were in Endor because I think of the way the mechanics work. So the heroes are Jar Jar, Master Qui-Gon,
Mm-hmm.
Padawan Obi-Wan, Darth Maul, and Stop.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they get a bunch of they get a bunch of bonuses as characters as part of teams, and the reason that bringing them up, you likely want to have these five characters on some form of the five teams you're going to build for the raid because
Yeah.
at least in Crate they had a pretty significant impact on how those
Mm-hmm.
the results of those tests at that point. So yeah.
Um, yeah. The other thing, and I don't know if this was posted. I don't think they posted this anywhere. But the Omicron is in game now. You can apply it on Boomadir, so that's the raid
Yeah,
Omicron. It only costs 10 mats, which I think is great. I
I do
think
too.
I think raid Omicron should only cost 10 mats. And apparently, people are going in with that Omicron. So first of all, people are going in. I think it's on the Relic 8 tier. I saw
Yes.
with only 4 Gungans, so they don't have Jar Jar, and they're getting roughly 1.6 million.
Okay.
And with the Omicron, they're getting about 2.4.
So almost maxing it out for me.
Almost maxing it out without Jar Jar with the Omicron.
So I know it's Cyrus, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
who had enough Relic 9 material that he has Relic 9 the entire raid roster.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So he was doing a lot of testing today.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Gungans at Relic 9 and the Omicron
Mm-hmm.
hit auto, collect 3.6 million
Yes.
raid points.
So, and I'm going to assume that also works at the Relic 8 tier, etc.
Yes.
Like, you don't
Yeah.
necessarily have to go. But if I can hit auto, amazing.
Yeah. There's a point where it stops adding up, and if you go back to Crate, there were at each rank of difficulty they added more modifiers to
Yes.
the factions,
Mm-hmm.
and there were certain break-even points that, like, it was the Mando, the team with Darth Maul on it, and that if you got them to Relic 7, or Relic 6, they were great.
Mm-hmm.
But at Relic 5, they couldn't get like half of
Yeah.
what the max score was.
Yeah.
So there are going to be some break even points on these. So if you've got your Gungans and you get them up there to Relic 5, and you're like, I hit auto and Pico, I got 450,000 points. It might not be the modifiers that are there. You might need to rank them up a little bit from that side. But yeah, and I think people were saying that there are some folks that have done some runs with the Gungans and just auto for 2.7 million on the rank, whatever the Relic
The Relic
8 level for them that they need to be at. So yeah, there's some good pieces there. The Separatist is the one that's really interesting to me.
Yeah.
To summarize the lots of words,
It's yeah. It's word vomity.
Every time a Separatist uses a special ability, I believe is what it is, in the leader slot, Darth Maul assists.
All Sith allies. So
all Sith allies. Is it all Sith allies?
So it would
Okay.
be, I guess, Sidious and Darth Maul, because they're the only
Okay.
two,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was kind of what was burning through those pieces.
And you want Sidious not in the leader slot anyway, because his leadership ability is active when he's the ally.
Yes. Yeah.
It's very weird.
Now the question is, it was with B2, and because B2 generated a ton of turn meter in a bunch of turns, Maul was assisting like crazy. But from what everything I saw today, it sure looks like this raid has turned into a relic check.
Yeah, it really does. Like
And again, I'm okay with that.
hit the relic gates, hit auto.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
and honestly, I'm also okay with that because I am at the point with Speeder Bike Raid where I wasn't even
yeah.
trying to get good scores anymore. I was like, this is close enough to what I need.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
because I hated having to restart for proper RNG and I hate like
yeah.
it just drove me nuts. So if I can just relic check and hit auto, fine.
And it does look like the Luminara squad, which is the one that everyone was kind of really interested to see what it's going to look like,
Mm-hmm.
because it specifically calls out Galactic Republic leaders
Yeah.
that are healers.
Yeah.
They get max health, tanks get defense, and Galactic Republic allies get 10% defense pen. For if the and a bunch of stuff with the healer. That
Mm-hmm.
team seems to be working really really well. Which is what I saw was what Lumi, Mace, Beck, Yoda, and Kiadi Mundi. Which honestly, outside of Luminara, those other four at Relic 7 and above
Mm-hmm.
are great characters that have a Relic 7 and above.
Totally.
So, yeah,
My question is, I'm curious what your thought is on this.
yeah.
And this is day one of the raid. We don't know what the best teams are going to shake out to be if you're going to need this. For people who don't have cam done, is it going to be worthwhile for those guilds to just do light side TV that week and pump out the cam shards so that you're not having to spend your Mark III tokens on cam shards instead?
Great question.
And obviously, like I said, it's day one of the raid. You might not need the
Yeah,
cam on your squad, but if
that
it's going to be a make or break,
so who else could that be? That could be Ayla. That could be Eth,
yeah.
Jedi Counselor, or Jedi Knight Guardian.
Or
Um,
Plo Koon. Or
so
Shakti.
oh, Shakti's. I would. I'd be interested to see what Shakti does in the camp spot.
Yeah.
Uh, the team that I saw for Queen Amidala
Mm-hmm.
was Plo Koon in the fifth spot
And R2.
as the tank
Yeah.
on that team. Um, and again, Plo at Relic 8, Plo at Relic 9 is a really good character to have because of the ship counter.
Mm-hmm.
The Galactic Republic ship counter for the triple attacker that everyone seems to run in GAC.
Mm-hmm.
So
The other thing with the raid is Loverboy 2, Qui-Gon, is not farmable yet.
oh, he's not. I saw that they both came in.
I think he's in shipments.
Okay.
Obi-Wan is farmable, and he is on Cantina, and he's pretty low. I think he's 10 energy. He's on 3D. So that's going to be a quick farm for quite a few people, I think. And then it's just a matter of whenever Qui-Gon is farmable or if you're going to pull him out of shipments.
So along the lines with this, we got the announcement of a new assault battle.
Yeah.
That will give droid brains and keypads for the lover boys at R9.
Yeah. And it'll also give you the shards.
Yes.
At the lower, if that's what you need.
And I think, so I don't have them both at R9.
Mm-hmm.
I think I did refreshes on the second to last node. So the Relic 8 node, and then the node that gave mod material.
Mm-hmm.
Those were the two that I thought that were worth it. But with that new assault battle coming in, what do you think the order for Relic 9 characters are right now?
Oh. Okay, so you get droid brains?
Yep.
And right now, droid brains are in the territory war.
And 5 in the weekly shipment.
And that's it.
That's it. The reality is droid brains right now, let's say 50% success rate in territory wars in a high level guild, because
Yeah.
that also matters. You're looking at 16 a week.
Okay.
Or 16 every 2 weeks.
Every 2
16
weeks.
every 2 weeks.
Um, it's hard. I feel like it almost makes sense to take them to Relic 9 to get them there because they are also in the raid.
Yes.
And that's so it almost like to me, I'm like, it almost makes sense to get them there faster. But then I'm also like, how often is this assault battle coming around?
I'm going to assume monthly, despite Meathead being very non-committal to that.
And I mean, so this assault battle is very weird. It lasts 7 days.
They moved it back to only 24 hours.
Okay, they did?
Yes.
For sure?
Yeah. Yes.
At the time, it lasted 7 days, which is just
Yeah.
wild. And it was going to refresh every day. And then CG went, oh no, sorry, we don't proofread.
Yeah.
We also don't listen to anyone on the Discord servers that have been like, oh, look, it's going to run every day for 7 days. And we'll be able to get rewards every day for 7 days. So it's just weird. So once a month for 24 hours, apparently they've confirmed once a month.
Yep.
Let's say, for argument's sake, this raid has a shelf life of 7 months. So we're going until February-ish. Is it worthwhile to take them to Relic 9 still for 7 shots of droid materials, droid brains?
So I think with how rare it is to get droid brains, and I know that I had some back and forth with some folks on both our guild and on the HNN Discord. I do not agree that keypads are difficult to get because it's salvage and there's a bunch of different ways that you can get that salvage to make. They're expensive, but they're not hard to get from that side.
You can also buy them in the store.
And I'm sorry, I'm doing some math really quick so I can look at some, but I think it makes sense to get them there just because if you can get that once a month, that speeds up your path to getting more droid brains. And honestly, if you pay for the refresh, which the refresh is cheaper than buying them out of the weekly store, but it's not as frequent, you can almost get about 25% more of them a month is about what it comes down to. At all Relic 8, your raid score, and assuming that every Relic 8 team can get a max score.
Right.
Your raid score is a 13.5 million score. Your guild needs to average 10.2 million per person
to get
the max crate. And the personal max crate is like 12 point something or other. So if you can get 5 R8 teams, you can get to max score without a problem, without going. My plan was to take 2 teams to R9.
Yeah.
That has now changed.
Okay.
I now think after the 2 lover boys, it has to be snips.
Right.
And I think you have to put one in the bank for Ahsoka.
Right.
As a requirement for her.
Yeah, like there's going to be another Relic 9 requirement.
Yeah. Like I don't unless you can put Mace on a Queen Amidala team and use Plo with that Luminara squad. I'm probably not going to run a Relic 9 team.
I mean, it doesn't sound like you need to. And that's kind of what I was getting at with them having this Relic 9 tier. And now that prize box is gone and there's no Relic 9 materials in the rewards anywhere. You have to buy them elsewhere. What is the incentive to going to Relic 9 other than me being able to hit auto and get a max score? But if I can hit auto and get a max score at Relic 9, then I can hit auto and get a max score at Relic 8.
So the incentive is a Relic 9 a Relic 8 and a Relic 7 team
Mm-hmm.
is the exact same score as 3 Relic 8 teams.
But that's still 3 teams.
It's still 3 teams, but it's if you are. I think a lot of players they have a lot more Relic 9 material because they've never spent it.
Yes, because they've been hoarding it for
Yes.
specific requirements.
Yeah. So I think it's easier to take one team from R8 to R9.
Yes.
Probably easier to do that than it is to take
3 teams.
3 teams to Relic 8.
Yes.
That would be the only like weird situation that I could think of from that standpoint.
Yeah. And that's fair. It just feels like a weird thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
It feels like they walk back to Relic 9.
It does. Before. It's very strange. I don't know. But yeah, so you get all these rewards at these different tiers, and it's interesting, I guess. It's a different type of assault battle. And yeah.
I haven't seen any videos of it. I've just seen teams that are successful, so I'm just going to go hit auto in 2 days.
Which, by the way, how hilarious is it that this raid launched today and we're already talking about hitting auto? Like,
Star Wars Galaxy, where the goal is to not play the game.
Literally, I think that CG needs to take that as some constructive feedback, and realize that there is a time sink element to this game, and if you want us to actually play it in specific areas, you got to give a little bit in other areas. And hitting like that was the thing. I'm like, if I can hit auto on the raid, I can hit auto and put a team going while I'm at work and actually working on something, and just have my phone going on my desk by itself. So whatever, that's neither here nor there, I guess.
It was awesome with the new assault battle, getting it all lined up and hitting auto as they pulled the lap bar down on Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. And when I got done, I'm like, oh, it must have been easy. Because I won. So
yeah. And you're like, great, perfect, thank you. Man. Okay. So we've got so is it just Night Trooper? I guess, and the Datacrons.
Datacrons.
Where do we want to go?
Let's talk about Datacrons next.
You're really pushing off that.
I am. Look,
that is so funny.
I'm just gonna say this now, Vox and King. I apologize, but no, we're not gonna give you a full breakdown of every combination you need in these.
I have a really great answer for that question when we get to it.
Okay.
Really great.
Good.
So hold on to it.
I hope I didn't omit that one, because it's just like, that's not going to happen. I don't want to talk about the Datacrons. I want to talk about what they did with the Datacrons.
Okay. Yeah. Let's do it.
I love this change.
Okay.
So the change, if for folks that haven't had a chance to dig into it, is they removed factions at the level 6.
Yeah. It's.
And they inserted archetypes.
Yeah.
So, and the archetype is what rolls your level 9.
Right. Which is just going to be weird for people to wrap their brains around.
So if you get a healer, all you're going to roll with that is going to be Jedi Counselor, Barriss, Visas, IG-11, or Ewok Elder.
Right.
And I kept reading, and all of a sudden I'm like, wait, is Kappa?
I know. I did that too. I was like, wait a minute. Nope, that's just because of how this was snipped.
I love this, because if this is what they do moving forward, I think this gives us much broader usage of the level 6.
Yep, absolutely.
But more importantly, this gives us much more variety of what they can do in a Relic 9.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, and it isn't going to make one faction stupid for 4 months. You're not gonna like. I saw it today. Somebody in our guild. I don't remember who it was. But they posted in chat and they're like, buy resistance cron, like go die in a fire kind of thing. And it's gonna be things like that's gonna go away because now you're looking at the type of the character instead of the faction of the team.
Yep. Yeah. What's interesting about it, especially for teams that don't have a level 9 character on it, you're going to have to look at the Datacron now in PvP because most teams at minimum have an attacker, a tank, and a support character.
Yeah.
In them. So which one did they go with? Which one are they trying to find from that side? So I think that it's going to provide a lot more variation on what we see. What I drastically do not like is I stopped counting at 32 characters, which means you're not going to have one of everything.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot. There's also, I'm just noticing, Meathead, there's no stats on this page. This is just all of the level 3, 6, and 9s.
Oh yeah, they're not here.
They're not here. Today was just, I'm gonna call a spade a spade. Today was an absolute shit show for CG in terms of posts going out and stuff going into game. I cracked a Beetlejuice joke on the H&N server because I was like, where's this Datacron post? And then literally it happened as soon as I typed it. I'm like, are we getting one? And I was like, Beetlejuice. Okay. Yeah, there's no stats. So, and I'm too lazy to open my game and look. So
I just looked at, so one, the dark side and light sides are not the same thing.
Right, which they have been doing recently.
Dark side, the first time a tank ally is defeated, revive them with 100% health, reset their cooldown so they gain a bonus turn limit once per battle.
So everybody, all the dark side tanks get hatred.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great. We'll take that. So look, and this kind of got brought up on the H&N server today about, asking about people interacting with Datacrons. And, my comment to that was, at this point, with all of the changes, and also they reduced the number of reroll materials required to reroll. Yeah. So again, they've done a lot to make Datacrons more player friendly over the past 6 months. If you're not interacting with Datacrons, probably time to admit you play this game casual. There's nothing wrong with that, but they are here and they are
not
characters no longer make the meta. Datacrons make the meta.
Yeah. I mean,
we have a shifting meta every 2 months now because of that.
So I was thinking about this today with Datacrons. We've had Datacrons in game for 2 years.
Yeah.
So like they're not going anywhere. You just gotta embrace it. I hate them, and I still make myself level them up, and re-roll to chase specific ones. It's just a necessary evil in the game. They do need to make the user interface better.
Yes. Oh, 100%.
I think that would make, for me personally, like that, I go in and I'm like, I gotta work on Datacrons, and I have to actually like force myself to do it because I hate, this is such a first world problem. I hate going in and leveling up a Datacron and then being like, okay, great, I'm gonna go level up the next one. Find like a, level 0 Datacron that hasn't been done. Or even like, just in general, going in and seeing a whole bunch of level 3s and be like, which one was that one that I just rolled? Because it's arbitrarily moved for no effing reason. So that needs to change. But yes, I agree with you. You just have to interact with them or choose not to, and that's what you do, I guess.
So this is really interesting. So the stats are health, protection, defense.
Okay.
And then critical damage, special damage, and physical damage. And hang on 1 second before my dog scratches through my door.
In game, cracked. Okay, sorry.
Somebody's having a very hard time because we were on vacation last week, and then he had to go to the groomer today, and then there's thunder, or not, there's
fireworks
going off, so he's a giant baby.
Yeah, I understand. I also am a giant baby. Okay, so health, protection, defense.
Yep.
Crit damage.
Special damage, physical damage.
Crit damage, special damage, physical damage. Okay.
The 3 stats you want for defense builds and the 3 stats you want for offense builds.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder if we're going to see more of that moving forward.
People chasing I'm going to try and get because it's what, 5, so I'm going to try and get the 2 30% health and, 30% physical damage and another 20% physical damage. Like chasing that, like, no, I'm just going to make the God Datacron is really what it comes down to.
Yeah, it's going to be insane. So, this is all. This starts next week, I guess. We get the new set. Is that when Conquest is coming back already?
They're in already.
Yeah. So, we'll be able to but like we'll be able to get the mats for them and stuff in the next Conquest, which I think is Monday.
Well, if you want to go into the Datacron store, you can start rolling a Datacron. The problem is the Mark II rank up material is only for crystals, and I just don't want to waste the crystals.
Yeah.
At that point, so
then it's a case of dismantling your current crons, but you want to wait to do that until after Friday.
Correct. After the lock-in.
The lock-in. You want to be locked in, and then you also want to make sure, and it'll show you, for people who don't know, because you may not engage with them, or you may not manually dismantle your Datacrons. It will show you when you dismantle them what materials you're getting back, and so you'll be able to see if it's materials for the old set or materials for the new set. And that way you'll know whether or not it's safe to dismantle. Because you want to get the new set, obviously.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. There are some interesting things in here. A couple of the notes on the ones that I saw. There is the support level 6 with all the words in it. Is so there's a combo here that I think is going to be great. So support, whenever support ally starts their turn, dispel tenacity up, and all enemies reduce tenacity by 100% until the end of the turn. And there is a Iden one that says, at the start of the encounter, Iden gains taunt, which can't be dispelled until she's defeated. Whenever a non-droid Imperial trooper is defeated, she gains taunt, which can't be dispelled until she's defeated. And so what that means is, if your opponent has that ability, 1, set Iden on defense, and 2, if your opponent has that ability, keep Wampa not on the bench, but actually leave them at home. Don't even let them come to the game.
Don't even try.
That will break the Wampa. Now, what's interesting is Wampa actually has one in here as well.
Ooh.
So, it's a weird mix of characters, though. It is.
It is.
It's the turd list.
It's such a weird, like, Sortie has one. Gamgar. Like, this is such a weird.
Young Han.
Such a weird list. But that's what we can expect from Datacrons, I guess.
All right.
We got to do it.
We got to
look at the kit for the first, what did we call them? The Dead Boys?
The Dead Boys, which is an awesome 80s punk band.
So it's Night Trooper. I am so excited by this. I remember watching this episode of Ahsoka, and immediately I went, I want this character in game. Which is, by the way, just crazy to watch Star Wars content and think to myself, I would like this character in the game.
I like this.
That's where my brain goes, not critiquing whether the lighting is great or whatever. Just whether or not I want the character.
As a quick aside, we also went to Universal Hollywood Studios, and they have this phenomenal Simpsons ride.
Okay.
And as we're leaving the Simpsons area, there's this huge sign for the Simpsons Tapped Out, which is kind of like their city building donut game.
Yes.
And my son's like, Dad, didn't you play that before? I'm like, yeah, I haven't played it in a long time. We get back to the hotel. We were at the hotel the next day, and he Evan yells over. He's like, hey, Dad, you playing Tapped Out right now? And I'm like literally logging into the game for the first time in like 4 years. And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, yeah, I just installed it too, but my account got destroyed. So again, we both walked past the sign, so I'm like, hey, I'm probably gonna play that again for a little bit. So
Yeah, exactly. You download it and then delete it again. Uh, yeah, I remember that. Side note that at my old job, all of us at work played it, and like we would be
yeah,
in the control room on break, and we would all just be all of us would have it going. Anyway, doesn't matter. So, Night Trooper. Do you mind if I read it?
go ahead, go
Okay.
ahead.
Obviously, Dark Side, Attacker, Imperial Remnant, Night Sisters, which is just so cool.
Yep.
So cool. Whole bunch of stuff that, whatever. I'm not going to go over the inspiration or the tips because whatever. So it is a marquee. It says it will be slightly different from our recent marquees. Blah, 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 blah. So it looks like repeat rewards in tier 1 will be mods.
Yes.
Recommended for them. Okay. And then but you care about we care about the later tiers because that's where you get the shards.
Yeah, but free mods are free mods, man.
Totally.
That's a.
I panicked when I saw the slightly different thing because I was like, are they
Yeah.
taking away the shards? Because I want the shards. Okay, so exclusive Datacron, like we already mentioned, and then something about health steal and blight, which we will get into, I guess. And then sounds because we apparently play the game with sound on. Okay, so basic is shambling shot. First thing I want to point out, this is great. So I have not looked at this at all. I love that this character is standing like a zombie.
Yes.
Like just, half dead. Fantastic. Okay, so deal physical damage to target enemy and inflict Night Trooper with a stack of blight. Sorry, I read Night Trooper and my brain envisioned Dark Trooper for some reason, and I was like, that's not right. Anyway, inflict Night Trooper with a stack of blight, which can't be copied, dispelled, or resisted until the end of the encounter. If this attack scores a critical hit, inflict healing immunity for 1 turn. If Night Trooper has blight at the start of this attack, inflict speed down on the target enemy for 1 turn, which can't be resisted, and remove 10% turn meter. Oh boy. Blight is minus 100% health steal. This character takes bonus true damage whenever they lose turn meter from an enemy, which can't be evaded and can't defeat them. Remove all stacks of blight when this character recovers to full health. Okay, so this goes on himself?
It does. And
because it sounds like you don't want it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, you don't.
But they said the new Death Trooper interacts with blight.
Okay. It still sounds bad.
I think so too.
Okay. Cool. Glad I'm not alone. Okay. First special, March of the Undying, cooldown of 3. Sorry. I love these animations. I think it's so great. And he's missing. Deal.
He does. He sounds like one over the head.
Yeah, he's totally missing. Deal physical damage to all enemies, and Night Trooper gains alert for 2 turns, which can't be copied. The enemy with the least turn meter is stunned and inflicted with vulnerable for 1 turn, and remove 5% turn meter from all other enemies. Call target other ally to assist. Alert whenever an ally gains bonus turn meter while not at 100% turn meter. This character gains 10% turn meter once per turn. This character assists whenever an ally uses a special ability. Okay. That sounds fun. I like that.
So if someone gains turn meter, he gains an extra. He gets 10% turn meter.
Yeah.
And assists. Okay.
Yeah, he'll assist if they use a special ability, and he'll gain turn meter if they gain turn meter. If they don't have 100% turn meter.
Okay.
Hang on. So, wait a minute. Okay, back up. Whenever an ally gains bonus turn meter while not at 100% turn meter. Can you gain bonus turn meter if you are at 100% turn meter, or are they talking about him not being at 100% turn meter?
You can gain bonus turn meter over 100% turn meter because
because of that whole
years ago, like the overcap piece that they put in that allowed what they put a mechanic in place that when everyone's at 100% turn meter to be more predictive as to who takes the next turn.
Right. So you could technically be at 100% turn meter and it not be your turn.
Correct.
So then you could gain turn meter. And, okay, yes, kind of like how the troopers do. They're all at 100% turn meter and they just keep going. Okay, got it. We're good. Sorry, I was just trying to figure out if they meant the ally or him. But, you know.
But,
confusing
okay. All right. This is why we use proper nouns.
Yeah.
Or just nouns in general. So I'm going to read this differently.
Okay.
Whenever an ally gains bonus turn meter while not at 100% turn meter, the ally gains 10% turn meter once per turn. The ally assists whenever okay. That's where this gets confusing.
Yeah.
Is this character the trooper?
That's what I'm thinking. Okay, because Night Trooper gains alert for 2 turns. So, alert, whenever an ally, let's call it Death Trooper. Let's just use him as an example. Whenever Death Trooper gains bonus turn meter while not at 100% turn meter, Night Trooper gains 10% turn meter. Night Trooper assists whenever Death Trooper uses, or any other ally, uses a special ability.
Got it. Okay.
That's how I'm reading it.
The use of the word ally at the end, I think, clears it up, but it's very vague.
Yeah.
Unless they wrote it this way because their plan is to put alert on
everything,
Death Troopers as well. Yeah, or everything.
Oh.
Relic 10 is just every character gets alert.
Okay. Special 2, share my suffering, cooldown of 4. This is like he's drunk at the bar. Wow. Okay. Deal physical damage and inflict the target enemy with a stack of blight. Interesting. Which can't be copied, dispelled, or resisted until the end of the encounter for each stack of blight on Night Trooper to a maximum of 10. Then remove 100% turn meter from the target enemy. All enemies are inflicted with critical chance down for 2 turns.
Oh, wait.
So if he has, let's say Night Trooper has 3 stacks of blight on him, then the enemy will also have 3 stacks of blight.
Okay, this now makes so much more sense.
Which means, okay, let's go back and look at blight. Minus 100% health steal, this character takes bonus true damage whenever they lose turn meter from an enemy, which can't be evaded and can't defeat them.
So the mechanic is
the
zombie puts blight on himself.
Yeah.
And then he spreads blight as he attacks other people.
So he puts blight on himself. Then you're going to do special 2 because that's where he spreads blight to them. And then you're going to do special 1 because that's where he removes the turn meter from all the enemies and they take the true damage.
Oh, I hate that. Just flip them around.
I know.
Let me go left to right.
Let me button mash in order.
But the reason why he wants those stacks is he wants, if he's got 4 stacks on him, he transfers 4 back in the other direction.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard not to justify putting this character with Talzin.
Right.
Because when you pull away health steal, you can't cure plague.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oof. Okay.
They're gonna need a really good reason not to do that.
Yeah. Okay. So unique, inevitable end, Zeta and an Omicron. Night Trooper has plus 35% potency. Whenever Night Trooper is damaged, they gain 10% offense stacking and 5 speed stacking for a max of 100 for 1 turn or until they are critically hit. Whenever an enemy recovers health, Night Trooper recovers 100% health. Oh. Okay. And that's how you get rid of Blight. You go back to 100% health and you get rid of Blight. Yeah. So you put Blight on yourself, and then if an enemy recovers health, you just heal yourself to 100 and you're like, cool, my Blight's gone. Okay.
Yeah.
Enemies can't recover health from health steal when targeting Night Trooper. At the start of Night Trooper's turn, they gain plus 10% crit damage and defense penetration per stack of Blight on them for 1 turn. Whenever Night Trooper reaches 5 stacks of Blight, they gain Frenzy for 2 turns. Ooh, I like that. I like that.
Zombies. Very, very zombie-like.
Ooh, okay. So that's just the regular part of the unique. And then the Omicron Grand Arena. Night Trooper has plus 100% max health and plus 35 speed. Night Trooper is immune to turn meter reduction. If the ally in the leader slot is Imperial Remnant, inflict a stack of Blight until the end of the encounter at the start of each Imperial Remnant ally's turn to a random enemy. Whenever an enemy is inflicted with Blight this way, reduce the cooldown of Share My Suffering by 1. And Share My Suffering is the one where he puts Blight onto the enemies and then removes turn meter from them.
So I keep thinking this is a tank. This is an attacker.
Yeah, this is an attacker.
So
wow, that's a fun kit. Confusing.
Yes,
I am very intrigued to hear how this works with the new Death Trooper.
So the first statement in Inevitable End, I think sounds a lot cooler than what it really is.
Right.
So whenever they're damaged, they gain 10% offense stacking and 5 speed, stacking max 100 for 1 turn or until they're critically hit.
Yeah, it sounds cooler.
So I was thinking like mass assist, awesome, except unless you're at 100% crit avoidance, you're going to get crit hit and you're going to lose it right away.
Right.
So 5 speed.
Right.
The kit makes a lot more sense if you think about it in terms of a zombie.
Yes.
You're going to infect people as you get close to them, and then every once in a while you're going to go crazy and start trying to slaughter them.
Yeah, that's exactly what it, every once in a while you'll hit frenzy and be a rabid, rabies infected animal.
Yes.
And go crazy.
By the way, I loved in the original version of this document, I assume it was Meathead that posted it, but he screwed up some of the tags in the, there's a, capitalization or to make Blight bold or the color changes. So it ended up with a lot of special characters in it. And someone the first comment is and inflict Night Trooper with a stack of C, bracket C, bracket FFF 33, bracket Blight. It's just yo, this sounds awesome.
Proofread. This sounds really cool. I am very intrigued to hear about the new Death Trooper.
Yeah.
And to be clear, this is a new Death Trooper, not a rework to the current. I read it, it's a new, brand new.
So at least in Grand Arena, you're going to be using them with Imperial Remnant.
That's how I would read it. I was actually wondering when I read the unique and the just how things were going and Blight and all this stuff, and I was like, are you? And then I saw the Grand Arena Omicron. I immediately was like, are you going to want to put them with Night Sisters because you have the Asajj Omicron and the Marin Omicron? Are you going to want to try and figure out a way to make that puzzle, fit? And I think the answer is no.
Now, what will be interesting is, so you've got a pretty, so I don't see Dark Trooper Moff Gideon and Scout. Well, who really knows what this is going to look like when all of these characters come out? Because in theory, Enoch and Death Trooper, because
I found some web results.
Oh.
I can show them if you ask me.
Hey Siri, stop. Just a quick aside. I have a coworker that loves on conference calls to ask voice assistants to play songs by Barry Manilow to see whose office starts playing Barry Manilow songs in the background.
Oh man.
So he also orders extra large balloons.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if kids are listening. Or add extra large balloons, but not balloons, things that look very much like that.
Gotcha.
To the shopping list to see what happens there, and actually got a complaint from someone because their wife saw that pop up on their phone of needing to add that to a grocery list. So completely digress there. So they said Enoch has an ability called Decay.
Yes.
So again, it feels like those three are going to package together under Dark Trooper Moff Gideon. Would be my assumption.
That would be my assumption as well.
So can you now move Scout Trooper over to Iden and then find one other Imperial Remnant to go with Dark Trooper Moff Gideon? Like, does regular Moff Gideon now become? It's going to be interesting to see how is really like. How do you start breaking those? We went from being one trooper short to making 3 teams to. Man, there's going to be a ton of possibilities of how all these things break out.
Yeah, there really is. Yeah. Okay, so that's the kit.
Yep.
I think that's all the news.
It is.
We just did like almost 2 hours of news.
We're 2 hours into the news.
Holy shit. Okay. I mean, that's no moon, the road ahead?
That's it.
The 2 hours of the news was that's no moon.
Yeah. We got the next 6 months worth of character releases.
Yeah. Absolutely we did. Absolutely.
So, we'll see where it goes.
I guess the question is now, if Balin is an epic confrontation, do we get Balin before or after Ahsoka?
I think before.
Like October? Maybe end of September? Like where are we? July 2nd? Could even do somewhere in September a Balin comes out, which would be early. That would not be the end of the year release that we are used to.
Here's how they're going to do it, and it's going to suck. We're going to get the next 2 characters will be Ahsoka characters.
Yeah.
Then we get Balin characters.
Mm-hmm.
Which will give people enough time to farm the Ahsoka characters.
Yeah.
And then we'll get the Balin release, and they'll drop 1 or 2 more Ahsoka characters so that you do have to spend to get her unlocked.
Yep. I mean,
that's going to be the way they'll do it.
The caveat being that it's a GL, so she will always be there. The epic confrontation will not.
Right.
And it'll be like, Bo and how Gas was and all that, where the event only runs for like 3 or 4 days.
I hope that we get, as much as I don't want the character rush, I do hope we get Balin before Ahsoka, because I don't want to go another 5 months until we get the next big character.
Right. You don't want to go, like, theoretically, if we didn't, it would be 5 months of Marquise getting pumped at us.
Yep.
And then a GL and an epic confrontation. Unless they do all of a sudden drop a ship in mid-September, end of September. But I don't see them doing that.
I don't think so either.
I don't think we get a ship this year.
That's coming up in the Discord questions.
So,
Um,
spoiler.
in our second 2 hours of the podcast.
Oh God. Okay. Do you have a bantha in the room?
Disappointed they did not add more sources of brains.
Okay.
I really
I
thought
agree
it was
with
gonna
that.
happen.
I agree with that.
I thought it was going to happen.
I still think the road ahead was lackluster, but we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. Okay. So, I guess we go to I Love You, I Know.
Yes.
After 2 hours of the news, it's very easy to be jaded. But Pico, what are you enjoying in the game recently?
So, nothing in the game recently. It is. I have been actually hoarding.
Yeah.
And not on purpose.
I have been hoarding on purpose. I hate hoarding.
And I don't like that. What I'm excited about is the Biggie sisters.
Yeah. Okay.
Again, I just it is because they're gonna make the Night Sisters relevant again.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting. I love the concept of we can group these three characters together to make it a character, and I think that opens up so much other space for them. And I just love the name Biggie Sisters.
Sorry, somebody's trying to FaceTime my husband. Anyway, yeah, Biggie Sisters. That's a great name.
It is. I love it. I love it.
I have also been hoarding. Well, I did take my Gungans to Relic 7 because I was like, okay, I'm gonna use them in the raid, and that will maybe make the Jar Jar unlock easier. I also threw the Omicron on Boomadir today because I was like, you know what? I opened the game and I looked at our guild chat. I don't know if you've looked at it. It is a wall of us just applying this Omicron, and I'm like, can't be the only one that doesn't do it. So, I'm a follower in that regard. So, that's that. But we did the last speeder bike raid. We got the payout today, right before the update. I am so excited to be done with that raid. I have been hating it for like the last 2 months or so. It's just like, it's awful. So very happy. Cannot wait. I think we should have enough tickets to do the new raid in 3 or 4 days.
We would drop. So today,
I think it's on Friday.
Yeah, I think so on Friday.
So we'll be able to see what is going on with what works and all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Discord corner for the next 2 hours of the podcast. Oh boy. Vox and King. Assuming you record before the raid is figured out, besides Gungans and the Queenie teams, what are the next 3 raid teams do you predict will carry max scores for the raid? Please include your rationale for each team. Thank you.
So I have been combing data.
Yeah.
And by data, I mean other people have posted screenshots, and I'm just reporting what they showed.
Mm-hmm.
But it looks like I have 4 teams. I haven't seen a 5th team yet. The 4 seem to be Queenie, R2, Loverboys, +1.
Right. Okay.
Gungans.
Yep.
There's going to be a Separatist team that's going to be some combination of Maul, Sidious, Stop.
Mm-hmm.
This is showing IG 100, I know. And then the leader is either going to be Newt or it's going to be B2 if they don't fix that.
Yeah. I was thinking a Newt-led team with them as well. Because
the Separatists have it's that interaction with the Separatist lead and the Sith that's going to make that happen.
And then you also have Stop and Darth Maul both being hero characters.
Yep.
So you want to take advantage of that.
Yeah. And then the Luminara team, what I've seen his work so far has been Luminara, Mace, Beck, Grandmaster Yoda, and Ki-Adi-Mundi.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the 5th team is at this point.
Yeah. I don't know. Another Jedi team?
It's gotta be. I don't think there's enough dark side characters to make
No.
2 dark side teams.
There aren't, and I don't think you're gonna put those 2 dark side characters with your Jedi, like or your Galactic Republic, whatever. I think you're gonna make another squad. I'm curious what those 4 teams. So you're looking at screenshots, right?
Yeah.
So what those 4 teams? What are they getting roughly?
All of them were getting 2.7.
2.7. So
the B2 got 2.7. I haven't seen the new team what that scores.
Okay, hang on.
Yeah.
Math. 4 teams getting 2.7, so that's 8.
Is over 10.
And thank you. And we need 10 something minimum to get max box.
Yes. So 4 teams at 2.7. 4 teams at 2.7 is 10-8, which if everybody in your guild can do that, that puts you at the max box. Everything past that is bonus at that point.
2.7 is the Relic 8 tier.
Is the Relic 8 tier.
Yeah. So that's not that bad. If you can get to the minimum that you need for max box and only be using 4 squads, you could arguably take one of those down to Relic 7 and have another team at Relic 7.
Let's see here. Plus 1.8 plus 1.8. So 2 Relic 8 teams, 2 Relic 7 teams is a 9 million score.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think people are going to find that they can probably do this with. And I think I saw somebody post earlier today that you can get the floor score again, provided everybody can get the maximum for the tier. 2 Relic 8, 3 Relic 7s puts you over the 10.2 that's needed for the raid on that side. So,
perfect.
That's Dar said that Queen Amidala isn't maxing at R9 yet from what he's seen, but again, that's Relic 9. I wonder what they're doing at the Relic 8 level.
I'm also wondering if it's is it a modding thing? Is it a strategy thing?
People are going to figure it out is what it's going to come down to.
I'm also curious. So I haven't looked at any, because people are streaming it right now and all that. And I'm curious. I haven't looked at any of it, how much of it actually is RNG based. And because they did say it's going to be random droids and the random droid leader is going to affect what you do. And I guess it's not that heavily based if you can auto and get max.
Yeah. I think the positive I've seen so far for the raid is, Fatal came up with that Jenga or the Leia squad that you could small time, but it was here's the very specific modding and here are the very specific turn orders. And if you can't do this, and I've heard him make it seem if you can't do it, well, get better. That's not an answer.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to be that at least I've seen enough data from folks, and it's not a lot of it, that people are just showing up and dropping scores. That's a better way to be than here's my 12 steps that you absolutely need to follow. It's the Leia and the speeder bike raid.
I would rather just show up and get my score. That's what I would rather, and then I can focus on other things in the game.
So Dar, who is again is very quietly the raid master in ODB.
Yeah, he does way too many runs.
Yeah, has said he thinks that one R8 Queen Amidala, an R9, and 3 others maxed at tier 6 will get you there. So that's kind of the way that he's looking at it right now. Which again, tier 6 is an R6 commitment, which is gross. To have 15 characters at R6, I'm sorry, that's a number that shouldn't exist, but understand its resources and where that sits. So
okay. So Bane asked question 1: do you think that Ahsoka will also get a specific economy event? If so, what do you think the rewards will be? Yes.
But brains. I'm going with brains.
I'm thinking it's got to be brains. What else do you make it?
It's got to be brains.
Because Jabba's is Matt's, Mod Matt's.
Yeah.
Leia's is the Omicron. So then, Droid Brains?
Gotta be brains.
All right. Question 2. Do you think new sets will have an exclusive Datacron each as a rule now? If so, will we start seeing multiple exclusive crons per set? I don't know. I think we're seeing exclusive crons in the sets because it's lining up with marquee characters.
Yes.
And I don't know if we're going to keep having that happen.
I think we can expect to see one marquee specific Datacron every 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the cycle that we get new Datacrons.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a weird thing, but whatever. Number 3, what's the best way to push back against tyrannical Discord moderation where simple, honest conversation is met with threats of violence by those in power? Memes?
Yeah.
Gifts?
So here's the deal, folks. You can have one of two things.
Mm-hmm.
You can have your hosts ask for Discord questions more than 15 minutes before the start of the episode.
Yes.
But you cannot comment in that thread so that we can easily identify them. Or you can have conversation in the Discord, but we're probably just not going to answer a lot of Discord questions.
Yeah. I was going to say, do we need to make a read-only channel? But then I guess you can't post.
Well, and that's the threat from Bodhi, who's been trying to manage that on the Three Scoundrels server. And basically, what it has turned out on the server is just don't piss off Bodhi. That's what it's turned into. So
okay, got it. Just can we enact that rule as well? Just don't piss off Bodhi.
Yeah, just don't piss off Bodhi. It's just much easier.
Yeah.
From that. So
speak of the devil, he has questions. So they appear to have finished mining the films for GLs and moved on to the TV series. Assuming that Dad Bod Thrawn is next year's GL, are we getting to the end of GLs? I don't think so.
No, and I think we touched on this a little bit on the definition of Galactic Legends. First of all, at minimum, there is a huge there are a couple of huge movie Galactic Legends out there.
Yes.
Han, Chewie, Yoda are the 3 top of mind. I think people also get way too wrapped around the axle on what we call things.
Yeah.
A GL represents and this has changed since when he posted the question to something I saw Meathead, or actually not Meathead, but in the updates. A GL right now represents the pinnacle of a period of game time, because they actually said Ahsoka is the pinnacle of this kind of exploration of the Mandoverse, or kind of the Ahsoka movie timeline right now. They're also a meta. Well, I said earlier, Datacrons are the meta shift. They are a team meta shift. That's all that represents. We could call them super awesome fun team time. And it's the same thing, and maybe it's the title is just different from that standpoint.
Yeah. Mopoke made a great point as well in chat, and just saying, like, just because they're not doing movie GLs right now doesn't mean that they won't go back there. Which is absolutely valid.
Yeah, I don't agree with, and Bodhi has talked about this in a number of places, so I'm going to directly kind of address some of the comments he's made elsewhere. I do not subscribe to the theory that to call something a galactic legend, a dirt farmer on Tatooine has to know who that person is.
Right.
I just don't.
Yeah. I mean, Lord Vader is a galactic legend, and he has 15 minutes of film time.
Yeah.
So if that's the bare minimum, are we going to get pod racing Anakin as a GL?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
he's got a whole movie.
Yes. It's content.
Yeah.
Feed the machine.
Yeah.
Feed the machine.
Okay, so staying Holo. Do you think we will get 2 GLs this year and possibly 2 capital ships next year? Or do you think there will be no capital ship this year? I mean, we've talked about this.
So I have take time.
Okay.
Here's take time.
Okay.
Since the introduction of Rey and Kylo, we have had 2 top tier game shifting character releases a year. It was Rey and Kylo, and then it was Luke and Sith.
Yep.
And then it went Lord Vader in a fleet meta shift. Then it went Kenobi in a fleet meta shift. And so then we kind of moved to this GL fleet meta shift. I think we're going to stick with this same piece.
Yep.
I just think that it's going to be probably 2 Galactic Legends, if anything.
Yeah. I feel like because we're already into July, and I feel like because this was so Ahsoka heavy in the road ahead, and then Balin being the epic confrontation, I don't know if we get another GL this year. And they're saying she's going to be at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Which, like you said, is arguably November because we go on 6-week Christmas vacation. It's starting in December.
Yep.
So I don't see how you fit in another GL in there.
So Leviathan dropped at the end of July.
Yeah.
Profundity dropped.
It was end of August.
August, because I was working on that event, flying back from my sales conference on the airplane. For something to fit in that time frame, those ships have to be in the game.
Right, and we just don't have that. And now, as well, with Ezra being the next Conquest unit and him being unlocked at the November 11th, we're not even going to get a Conquest ship that would change the fleet meta. Like that, because for a while I was like, maybe that will be what happens if we don't get a capital ship. We just get a really strong Conquest ship and that changes the fleet or whatever. That's not even an option.
Yeah, agreed.
So I think it's Ahsoka and that's it.
Yep.
And then like obviously Balin, but yeah. Okay. Solo Han. Do you think GL Ahsoka will be the premium team of the next raid after Naboo?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, you touched on that. And then who do you think will be in that mercenary faction announced in the in-game newsletter for Balin? So that's why this wasn't in the road ahead, this mercenary thing. It was in the in-game thing that you had to have read and not clicked out of.
So
Shin?
I'm going to throw a name out. Shin, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm going to put a name out there.
Okay.
New tag for Dad Bod Boba, or Dad Bod Boba.
Oh, and he gets a mercenary tag.
Yeah.
Ooh, that would be interesting.
And he becomes usable in other game modes.
Ooh, that would be good. I like that idea.
I think you can farm a lot of the bounty hunters for that.
Yeah, you totally could.
For that space.
You absolutely could. What's the difference between a mercenary and a bounty hunter?
Bounty hunters are part of the guild.
Okay.
It's the only thing that I can think of.
Fair. Fair. All right.
Expect a lot of bitching because it's not clearly defined, and people are going to be upset because their favorite, Star Wars character isn't a mercenary where they think it should be.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay. Vaughn. Why was the road ahead so damn lame when there is so much going on in game? We are fine. So this is exactly what I was kind of saying. And there's stuff in game in the newsletters that was popping up that wasn't in the road ahead at all. So like that mercenary faction, Balin being an epic confrontation, like these are things that should have just been in the road ahead. I think this was a and I don't know what the inner like workflow and is between like the departments at CG, but this really feels like a massive communication breakdown.
Yep.
Because somebody clearly typed up this information to go in game and did not send it to Meathead.
Yep.
And unfortunately, Meathead is going to fall on the sword for this one because it's his name attached to the Road Ahead post. And like that sucks, but if at the end of the day, if he's not told to put it in there, there's nothing he can do about it. But clearly somebody knew that it needed to be in game when the Road Ahead dropped.
So Meathead, I want you to listen to us for just a minute. All right. We're not mad at you.
No.
We know this isn't on you. In fact, come on the show. We'll have a conversation. We'll let you vent. We know you can't, but we'll let you, I don't know, hypothetically talk about your neighbor, but it's going to sound a lot like people that are in the office at CG and that kind of screwed this up. We're not mad at you. Come on, HNN. Tell your side of the story.
Yeah.
Sarah's a real journalist. I can make deep announcer voice type sounds. It'll all work out.
It'll all be fine. But yeah, it was one of those things that was just like, this is weird. But anyway, Molpokey, what do you think of the changes to Datacrons? Are you scaling for rerolls, changing the level 6 to rolls other than factions, etc.?
We talk about, I love it.
Yeah. I'm curious, like, is this like going to be the new norm going forward? Is this like a testing the waters kind of thing? To see how it's like received and like, will people want to interact with them more, or I don't know.
I hope this is the new normal.
Yeah.
And selfishly, as someone who has a heavier bottom part of the roster, yes, I want archetypes that lead into more unknown characters being used because it's to my benefit.
Right.
And I will be completely transparent about that. So yes, I love it.
Well, and I also think it does, get around that whole, like, this entire faction is broken for 4 months thing,
Yep.
So, okay. Ramius, reading between the lines, will we need the next 3 marquees unlocked and geared in order to get legendary tune for G? Okay, so I'm assuming the legendary tune in this case would be Balin. Do we think we need the marquees unlocked to get Balin to get Ahsoka?
Ooh, that's a great question.
That sounds messy.
I'm going to say no, with the caveat that I don't think Balin's going to go right to the journey guide.
He's not. If he's epic confrontation, he's going to be like Bo.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I also feel like Balin would fit for a Thrawn requirement better.
Yes, agreed.
I feel like making these if you have, let's just arbitrarily pick November 11th as the date that Ahsoka drops, because that's the date that Ezra is in game as well. So let's just arbitrarily pick that. If you have that as the Ahsoka date, let's say the Balin event is October 15th, so that it runs once. I'm just randomly picking dates, by the way. So that it runs once before Ahsoka drops into the game. That means you would need to have 3 marquees in game before October 15th. Could be doable.
I think putting a time-bound gate as a requirement for a galactic legend goes against the model that CG has been building for the past 4 years.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely.
So I would have to say no, but I don't. Again, this has been the year of curveballs. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say this has been the year where I feel like CG is just trying to do really random stuff.
Yeah.
So, okay, Voxen. Since the new Ezra is a Conquest character, presumably going with the new GL, do you think he will be Ahsoka's lifter unit? If not, who do you think should be her lifter unit? And what do you think about a potential double Conquest unit team?
This is a great question.
I was assuming he was going to be her lifter unit. I saw when they said he was going to be the Conquest unit, I was like, so he's her lifter.
So it's a great question because how do you define a lifter?
Well, so this is the thing, because originally, and this goes back a little bit to what you were saying about how we fixate on what things are called. But originally, CG, did that whole tier shortly after the whole Maul whatever fiasco. They did that whole tier with the character hierarchy of like Marquee, Legendary, Hero's Journey, etc., etc. And it was Galactic Legend and then Galactic Legend with their lifter unit. And at the time, that was the only place where we saw lifter units. And then Marin comes to the game and they're like, she's the lifter unit for Night Sisters. And I'm like, so now I'm wondering, is CG calling characters lifter units that are turd polishers? Because, like, to me, a lifter unit goes with a GL. I don't view Marin as a lifter unit. I don't view Luthen as a lifter unit.
So first of all, was not expecting that. It was awesome. So when I don't know this personally, I've read people talk about this, but when it comes to video games or TV shows, there's typically a document that outlines the parameters of which the world that the writers are going to create exists within. Like a very bad example of this is Batman never shoots, doesn't use guns.
Okay.
Right? These are like non-negotiables as part of that. So there's a design document for Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes that exists. And I feel like 2 years ago, someone opened that up and added one last bullet point, and it was, under no circumstance do we use the term turd polishers.
Right.
So like we need a name, we need to call it a lifter. So why I think this is such a great question, again, it's that fixation on the term. Do you consider Boosh and Drogon lifter units for those galactic legends, or are they foundational pieces of the initial kit?
Right.
I see them as foundational pieces of the initial
That's
kit.
how I see them. I don't see them as lifter units.
That's what I think Ezra is.
Okay, a foundational piece.
Yes. I think that her kit is going to be built around Ezra being part of the kit. To me, a lifter is something that is released after the character to adjust power levels of that team. I don't agree with the statement, even though it came out as part of the release. I don't see Cat or Maul
as lifter units,
as being lifters for those teams. I think that they were part and parcel to how that was. It was just how they decided to describe those teams.
Yeah. So maybe it should be GL with their +1.
Yes, I think Ezra is +1.
Yeah. Okay. So what do you think about a potential double Conquest unit team? As in, like, Cat going with them, or who is the double Conquest unit?
Well, so again, phenomenally great question. If she's a new food tag,
Yeah. Cat,
Maul, or Malicos.
Yeah.
This is why her tags are going to be so interesting to see how.
I honestly think it's gonna be broken. It's gonna be wild. You have to give her the Yufu tag. You can't. She's not Jedi. She's not Galactic Republic. You have to give her the Yufu tag.
Such a great question. Um, I can see I can see her kit being written in such a way to push Cat out of the team.
Okay, yeah, I can totally see that as well. Like no scoundrels.
Yep. I can see her kit being written in such a way that Maul is included
Ooh, that would be interesting.
because Maul seems to be a very again, people might think this is crazy to say. Maul is turned into a very plug and play character.
Mm-hmm.
He works with Lord Vader. He works by himself with the
Mandos.
we need to find a term. We need to find a term for the Mando boys. How about the Man Boys?
The Man Boys.
The Man Boys. He works with those, and then he can go onto that Sir Malicos team if you need anything.
Yeah.
I can see a scenario where Malicos doesn't leave Seer because of what they do right now.
Yeah. I could see that.
But I also wonder if there's not a way to get second sister onto that team because she's a second and ninth sister maybe because her Ufu's without a home.
Mm-hmm. This is just wild territory to even think about. I did not ever think we would see a GL for Ufus because I always looked at them and I'm like, these characters are all so strong.
Yes.
Man, it's going to be wild. What a time to be alive.
What about Starkiller?
Oh my gosh. Well, and he wants a very specific build. Light side. Oh. Oh my god, she would be the you swap out visas. I want to see this so bad.
This is where you have to bolt Ezra so tight to her, and Ezra can't be a Jedi.
Yeah.
To break Starkiller would be the way that you would solve that.
Do you think they would make Ezra not a Jedi?
I do.
Right, because I guess this is Peridia Ezra.
Yeah. Oh. I think you can also argue Ezra was never really a Jedi.
Yeah. I am really wanting to see her with Starkiller. Yeah. Holy shit. That would be so cool.
The factions for this is going to be massively awesome.
To be clear, I think that would be a waste of her. However, I think it would be badass. Yeah. I would love to see that. Okay. Wow.
I just want her only tag to be Ufu and just chaos.
Just chaos. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Okay, so Vox and King. This is here for the show. Can you outline the new Datacrons, which combos, etc.? So this is my answer to this because we're not going to do this. Every time there is a new Datacron set, Zareth builds this really great infographic. It's phenomenal, and it is literally exactly what you are asking for. And not only is it what combos do you need, but he tells you what teams you want them for. Yeah. So it's literally you don't have to think. And it's beautiful. And he does it for every set. So go steal that. Yeah. That's what I'm going to say.
If you want boy-based team nicknames, and Taylor Swift song references, mount our algorithm. If you want valid content on how to be better at PvP, mount his algorithm.
Right.
That's the way to look at it.
Yeah, absolutely. Perfect. Okay, let's shake it off. And
Yes.
I don't think we need to do a rank and file. No. We never need to do a rank and file. Okay, last but not least, we've been going for 2.5 hours almost. let's head to Uncle Owen's Moisture Farm to talk about who and what we are currently farming in game, because everyone knows work comes before going to Tashi Station to pick up power converters. Whew. Pigo.
All that I've done in 3 weeks is put Relic 8 on Chase.
That's it? Or because you're in that weird hoarding thing.
So part of it was not purposely hoarding, but part of it also was to get to Disney and Universal on time. I had to get up at 5, be showered by 6, get kids up by 6:30 and moving. So, and we were coming home at 10 or 11 o'clock at night, and I wanted to die. And Bodhi still made me do combat missions from time to time. Yeah. So I just didn't play a lot over the last 2 weeks. Like that.
That's valid.
I hit tickets every time. So I ended up with a bunch of stuff there, and again was waiting to see what was coming up with droid mats.
It was quite funny actually, because somebody had posted in our Getting Busy Discord channel, and then another person posted, and then another, and I'm like, everyone's just going on vacation at the same time. It's that time of the year. I in the last little bit, literally all I have done is take the Gungans from Relic 5 to Relic 7, because I knew I was going to need that, and I had the mats and everything for it, and that's it. Like, I'm now farming Obi-Wan, since he's farmable on that Cantina node, and it's going to be so fast. I'm pumped. I completely spaced. I didn't space. I was so convinced that we were not going to get a content update today. Like, I was like, it's not coming today. It's Tuesday. Like, this doesn't happen. It's Tuesday. God damn it, CG. And I went in this morning and blew all of my refreshes first thing in the morning. So Obi-Wan went farmable, and I was like, I've already done my Cantina for the day. So I'm a little bit mad. However, it's gonna be fast and beautiful, and whatever his name is, Qui-Gon's gonna be the problem child to get done.
Again, famous last words on Tuesday last week. I pinged you. I'm like, hey, just a reminder, I'm on vacation this week. I can't record because last week was supposed to be our episode, and back and forth. I'm like, we're probably going to be another 2 weeks out, because there's no way that they're going to drop a content update the day before the 4th of July. You're like, I agree. We were proven wrong. Yeah.
CG said, no. Have you not met us? No. So I'm basically farming. I need to hoard gear for Jar Jar, and then I need to make sure I have the gear 12 gear for the Lover Boys, so that I can just take them straight up. Obviously, for them, in my opinion, I'm less worried about them because I'm not going to use them in the raid until I have Qui-Gon done, which sucks because I have Amidala.
So, hot take.
Yeah. Do I just try?
Does Jar Jar matter now that 4 Gungans in an Omicron gets you max score?
I have no idea. That's what I'm wondering. Like, does he matter? Because if I can get max score with 4 Gungans, I gave them the Omicron. I'll take all 4 of those to Relic 8 if it's going to get me 2.7 or even 2.5, 2.4 on auto. If I can get 2.4 consistently without Jar Jar.
That's man. If you would have told me 2 months ago that Jar Jar is not going to matter, the raid's going to come out a month earlier, and no one's going to care that Jar Jar hasn't come back.
Well, and then that was a thing, because even earlier today, I was like, this is annoying that the raid is coming out today and Jar Jar's not back. Like, not only is Jar Jar not back, but Qui-Gon's not farmable. Like, you have 2 characters that are hero characters that the majority of the player base can't use. And now it's like, well, if you don't need Jar Jar, do I need Qui-Gon? Can I just take Queenie in with some Galactic Republic and see what happens? Like, will she just be like, yeah, whatever? And, maybe I don't get max, but maybe I get close enough.
Is the other Qui-Gon in the raid character list?
No, I do not believe so.
So it'd be like, oh, I just brought the other Qui-Gon and I still got max score.
Yeah. So, like, I think that opens the gate, though, for a ton of people who are still probably going to miss out on Jar Jar this next event, I think you still push for your Gungans and still push him up, relic him up. You'll get him, even if you don't get him until, let's say he comes back around November, December, you're still going to be raking home the points in the new raid.
Yeah. I was advocating in our guild chat today, and I'll make this plea for any of the officers that listen to the show or listen to the show 3 hours in.
Luke's in chat right now.
Let's not make the floor 10.2, which is what everyone needs. I think it's 10.4, but what I would like the minimum to get to 520 million as a guild. Let's make the floor the last personal box.
Okay.
Because one, it shouldn't be that hard to get, and second of all, that gives flexibility in the event that if you have a guild that can score 12.4, you can lose a person and still get to max box.
Yeah.
And that also allows people to maybe step away for a week because they went to Disney, or we've had folks that have had to travel overseas for family events or family emergencies. Give people the flexibility to do those things. Make the baseline the personal box at this point.
Yeah, so it's 12. It's 12.1. So it's less than 2 million points more.
So let's see, 12.1.
12.15 is the max personal box.
Divided by 5. That's an average score of we'll call it 2.45 million.
So if you have 3 teams doing 2.7.
Yep.
That's
you would need roughly 2 other teams doing about 2 million each.
So that's not that rough.
Let's see. 2.7 times 3 plus 1.8 plus 1.8. That's 11.7. You're close at that point.
Yeah. So you need one team.
You really need 4 R8 teams.
Yeah.
And now plus 0.9. If you do 1 R9.
Yeah.
3 R8 and 1 R9, 2 R8s, 2 R7s. That gets you over that. That gets you to 12.6.
1 R9, 2 R8s, 2 R7s.
Yep.
That's not bad.
That gets you there.
The question is, what team do you want at R9?
I think if you can get the full score with Queen Amidala, it's that team only because
you can plug and play them elsewhere.
You can play them elsewhere, but also it's likely going to be R2 on that team as it is. So let's say you go for the top of the assault battle plus R2. That's 60% of your team that's there.
Yeah.
Now you just need 2 characters to come up underneath it. And if you can make it work with Mace, who is great at R9, that's kind of even better from that standpoint. So
yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Do you have anything else you want to add?
If I do, I don't. Why? I believe we've drained the swamp.
I don't even know where to go from here, other than to bed. Wow. Okay, so we did it. We went through it all.
We did.
That's it. Do you want to do the honors? I have nothing else to add.
Thank you for joining us this week. That ought to do it. And until next time, Chewie, we're home.
Recording stopped.
All right. We have stopped recording. I am going to stop streaming because that's what we're going to do. So
yeah.
Thanks for watching on YouTube, guys. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Something like that.
Wait, are we still recording?
We are not still recording.
Okay.
We are still streaming.
I think 2 weeks will work.
All right.
I think. Who knows?
Fair. It is a weird